France and Argentina. Yes, I did watch this game. Sorry, guys, it is a day late. I was pretty crook on Friday and Saturday. The games for this November weekend were all on Sunday, New Zealand time. So yeah, I was feeling a wee bit better by that stage, but it does mean all my videos are a wee bit behind schedule. So yeah, better late than never. France and Argentina. I said in the lead up, it was two teams that kind of needed a win, a feel-good win after not so happy times, perhaps even more so for the French, although the commentator in this one did allude to the point that, I mean, the French had to tour New Zealand, didn't get a win, like, boo-hoo, that happens to most teams, honestly. So I don't know that the press can be too hard on them for that. But yeah, I don't think it's been all that bad. They were unlucky last week against South Africa. South Africa didn't play that well, but did enough. Managed to pip them at the death. So they've finally done it. They got a win over Argentina, 28 points to 13. 4 tries in the game, 3 to France, 1 to Argentina. I've read some reports that said the game was scrappy, and there were a fair few handling errors, but I mean, there was enough in this game to keep a kind of weary and tired, poorly rested me entertained. Enough. I mean, I'm probably not exactly... Well, I mean, getting me to watch rugby is not a hard thing. But even I have my limits on some of the games that lack a bit of entertainment value. But this had enough magic moments and a bit of, you know, tit-for-tat lead-changing stuff to kind of keep me entertained throughout the game. The Argentinians struck early with Moyano's try. It was after 2 minutes. The guy runs good lines. Like, he had that ball out on the left wing and enough space, and he just, in his head, immediately made that quick calculation. Like, there's a defender there, defender there, and defender there, and he just plotted it. You could just see it in an instant, and he just kind of arced his run, backed his gas, and it was enough to get him there. So it was a fantastic start from the Argentinians, and that French crowd was pretty stunned from an early turnover. So it was 7 points to 0. Serran got a penalty not that long later to make it 7-3, so France staying in it. Sanchez hit back not long after again, so 10 points to 3. And that was how it stayed for a wee while until Thomas got his first try. 25 minutes from a lineup, pretty slick moves. It was to Hugo, or Hugo. My French pronunciation needs a lot of work, I admit. To foul to Thomas, and they missed the conversion. It was 10 points to 8. Serran got a penalty to put France in the lead just before halftime, 11 points to 10. And at that point, it's looking like proper game on because both sides have been in it. There's been a few mistakes, like France kicked it straight out on the full after they're kind of conceding early, so that wasn't great. The scrums were messy. Argentina's woes in that department continue, perhaps not to the same degree as last week, but still not great. A lot of handbags in the game, especially after a couple of the scrums. Something about things being dangerous, players not happy. So two teams that don't like each other that much, apparently. Medard got injured early for the French, which was also pretty disappointing. It was after like 2 minutes as well, so that was concerning because he was one of their better players and that lost to South Africa last week. There was one moment with France, oh my lord, like when you're worried about how their form is going recently, the Argentinians had a kick through, and it was one of those ones where it was bouncing, and the question is it going to go over the try line so he can just force it and it's going to be a 22 dropout, or is he going to have to carry it back and force it so it's a 5-meter scrum? He kind of left it, and then just grabbed it and tried to run back into the field of play and was caught and tackled like just a meter out from the line, and they were lucky not to concede a try. Eventually the French support got there and kind of bailed them out, but it was one of those heart-in-the-mouth moments that if you're Jacques Brunel, you don't need that. It may have been better, given how poor the Argentinian scrum has been, to just concede the 5-meter scrum and then put some pressure on there and back yourselves to kind of get a result. But it worked out. One of those roll of the dice ones that they didn't get punished for. So, the crowd was belting out La Marseillaise, so that was good to see because I think it was in Lille. It was outside the normal venue. It wasn't in Paris, so it was good to see them. Like we do that all the time in the Southern Hemisphere countries. We, South Africa take it around Pretoria, Cape Town, all the Durban, all the South African cities. The Aussies do it with their cities, and we do it in New Zealand as well. France, it's usually at the Stade de France, but this one was good to see it outside. So the crowd really getting behind it was encouraging. Second half, Sanchez got a penalty again pretty early on to put Argentina back in front. That's what I'm saying about the game kind of changing lead from time to time. And then Tomar got his try from Fiku's magic little run. And I'm going to be doing a dream team probably tomorrow. So again, it's going to be a day late. And man, that guy's going to be hard to keep out because of that one. I'll have to check his stats. I haven't done any checking of the stats yet. But Fiku's little jinking and driving run, he had no rights to get through as many players as he did. Massive line break. And then shovels across a huge 20-meter pass over to Tomar, who goes in for a second try in the 48th. So that puts, with the conversion, France back in front, 18 points to 13. Sarang gets a penalty, 21-13 after 67. And then still kind of game on, but Argentina are a wee bit under the pump. They gift France a try, Guirado's try from a line-out mistake from Argentina. They secured their own line-out ball, but then just a handling error, and Guirado goes in. Like it was a defensive line-out from Argentina trying to, they had the throw, but they were in their own 22. Not far from their 5-meter line, so yeah, poor mistake, and then that was kind of what really sealed the deal. 28 points to 13, and that's how it finished. Stats: France looking pretty good in some areas. Run meters 415 to Argentina's 231, so France doing a lot with the ball that they had. As I said, line breaks from guys like Tomar and Fiku were pretty impressive. The other winger as well, Hugo. I'll work on the French. Possession and territory, though, slightly in favour of Argentina, 55-45. Nothing really doing there, still pretty even. Interesting lineouts were pretty even, 90% to France, 94% to Argentina, so that's encouraging. But the scrum, 100% for France, 58% for Argentina, and you can't win that many games at international level with a scrum that poor, unless there's just going to be a game where people don't knock the ball on. Pretty rare. Tackling percentage, likewise a bit of a killer for Argentina. 89% for France, which is very, very good. 73% for Argentina. And again, you're not going to win that many games with tackling percentage that low and scrum percentage that low. Penalties conceded, 10 to Argentina, 5 to France. Some of those would have been at scrum time as well, so kind of adds to the misery. Sanchez, though, still looks sharp for Argentina. The back three look good. Just that front row. I'll back Ledesma to find a solution, whether it's looking for more players based outside the Jaguares or some of the Argentinian guys will have to give me their thoughts on how they could shore this up, because it is definitely a problem for Argentina at the moment. Sanchez did knock on once. Was it Sanchez that knocked it on? No, there was a knock on from Argentina when they had a line break and a kick through, so it probably cost them. Handling errors I've written as a note as well for Argentina. Wondering a little bit whether the season's just getting a bit long, because a lot of these guys have played a lot of games for the Jaguares, now a lot of games for the Pumas. Could be time for some of these guys to get a break. Perhaps it's just kind of starting to show towards the end of the season. I will say a few kind of key mentions. Bastero at the breakdown was impressive. I mean, he's a big man. He got his body over the ball a few times. The French, I put a note about this especially because in terms of their, you think there might be a team that's down, but in terms of their body language, they looked good. They looked motivated and patting each other on the back, and just teamwork looked good. So that I find pretty encouraging. There was one moment where, this is kind of a stupid thing to say, but there was a moment where the camera angle was at some weird angle, or was it, this is again with the French patting each other on the back, where I think they just got a turnover or a scrum domination or something, and all the guys were there high-fiving and stuff, and there was one hand, I don't know how to position my hand, it was kind of like that on the camera. And it looked like as they were celebrating this one guy, it must have been a turnover for getting that result, maybe a scrum where they're celebrating with the front row. And there was this one hand waiting for a high five. It was just waiting for a high five. And they just left it hanging. And I was agonizing over this hand waiting for a high five. I know this is ridiculously stupid, but then the camera zoomed out a little bit and it was the referee's hand signaling which team had got the penalty. So wasn't anybody waiting for a high five, that was just me getting an optical illusion played on me, but I thought that was a bit funny. Yeah. Moyano went off after 60 odd minutes. I think he was a bit sore. I think I saw him with some ice on his leg, which is a bit of a concern because I said he's one of their star players. And the commentator had one really weird line. I think from his voice, I don't know his name, but this is the commentator who I've seen who does like the summary packages on the top 14 results in France. So he definitely knows the French guys a bit better than the South American guys, which is, I mean, fair because I know the Jaguares and Pumas guys a lot better than I know the French guys, just from the amount of Super Rugby I've watched compared to top 14 and Champions Cup. But there was one line where the commentator, I swear this is pretty much word for word, he said, "These South American forwards are like South American swashbuckling pirates." And there was nothing else. There was no context or like, because blah blah blah. No, that's it. Just like pirates. Why? How? Leave that to you, the viewer, to find out. But yeah, good win for France at home. Pleased the crowd. Argentina are competitive in it, kind of right until they gifted that last try away. But as I said, the scrum, the handling errors, the penalties, which leads to the scrum as well, the tackling at times just wasn't up to scratch. Yeah, they're going to have to be better. But again, I still think that they got the right man in charge. They seem to be on the right track. For France, we'll see if they can kind of back this up next week. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the game. Again, sorry this is a day late, but hey, better late than never. Let me know your thoughts on the game, key players, how you thought the result went, what you think it means for both teams and the coaches. And yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.